Welcome to the Beer Thunder, the thing where I drink the beer and I play the War Thunder, and then I talk about the War Thunder and the Beer Thunder and the beer that I'm drinking, which tonight we have a Deciduous Jubile Ale, a festive winter ale, and in all honesty, this beer was not very good. It was okay the first night. I drank about three of them, and then I just kind of like petered out on them because they're taste like ass. It tastes horrible, to be honest. Like the aftertaste really ruins it. It just has like this like really kind of oily aftertaste. And overall, would not recommend Deciduous Jubile. Maybe get 1 6-pack, try it out. Maybe it's a good thing for you. But in all honesty, glad I tried it, and I probably won't be drinking this one again. But this one's going to go in the trash, and we're going to talk about the next round of trash. Which the next round of trash is not the brand new patch that's coming out, because in all honesty, the brand new patch that I don't even know the name is going to change literally nothing for the vast majority of us. We get a couple of like really iterative improvements. The F7F is getting a new flight model, which is going to be really, really like fun. It's going to be something that I look forward to. The SRAM is getting updated. The FW190 F8 is getting the X4 air-to-air missile, which is going to be a meme. And then as far as everything else, you get a couple more SAM systems. The A10 is getting a very high-fidelity helicopter-style damage model. And Great Britain is getting a plethora of F-18s. And the Rafale is getting buffed again, or maybe it gets nerfed, depending on how some different bug reports go that I made. We'll see what happens with that. Overall, though, this next patch, as far as the air sim meta, the kind of environment that we exist in, is not going to change. It's not going to change enough for me to really make like a 20 or 30 minute long video about it. We're getting no new missiles. We're getting no effectively actually new planes. I think there is like a navalized BF-109, which woo, I guess. Who cares? But the thing that I'm looking forward to, or the thing that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with, is War Thunder's / Gaijin's new Aces of Thunder video game. Because I've been following its release date. Its release date was supposed to be in September, but I think they pushed it back to around Christmas. And what Gaijin has essentially done is taken War Thunder Sim and repackaged it into a more virtual reality friendly format with less planes, more historically based matchmaking, and what supposedly looks like its own unique game mode. And I say this based off of watching the Training Days videos and the Greg's Airplanes videos kind of reviewing the game. And, well, I think they're missing some of it. I think part of the issue with the Training Days perspective is I don't think he's ever played Air RB. And I think Greg's perspective is that he's playing the game, but he's never played War Thunder, and he's never played SB or RB in War Thunder. So a lot of these things that are being touted as new concepts actually just appear to be things that are repackaged. For instance, if you look at any of the videos and you look at any of the missions that they're doing, and like, oh, they got ground targets and boat targets and different highly detailed models of places like Wake Island. Well, those are already in War Thunder. Those missions, I think, already exist. Like, I would not be surprised if the missions that are coming to Aces of Thunder are directly lifted from the ones that we already have in War Thunder that are in the Air RB rotation and that have been rotated out of the Air RB rotation. For instance, back in the day when I used to play Wake Island, its core setup was, if you were on the American side, you spawned on the runway, you had to take off, and you had to intercept the Japanese planes who were conducting a surprise attack from their carriers or with land-based fighters. And the way this would work out is you'd have to defend the island from a landing force. And the way that it actually worked is if the landing craft reached the beaches, even if it was one, you lost on tickets. Also, the way that it worked out is the Japanese planes spawn in the air and you spawn in poorly climbing American planes, and you all have one life. It's not going to work out for the American side most of the time. And from the looks of things, this is the kind of thing that I'm afraid Aces of Thunder is repackaging and selling to people as something that's brand new. This is why the game feels like it's finished. It's well developed. Well, yeah, it's well developed because it's been around for like 10 plus years now. It's not really, it's probably not anything new. Now, hopefully, they have employed some developers to go back and tweak the objectives and make things more balanced and kind of more amicable. The other thing that Aces of Thunder has that's different is just kind of the limited selection of planes. Basically, what they've done is they've taken the whole encyclopedia of World War II planes that War Thunder has and parsed them down to about 4 to 5 per nation. And right now, what it looks like is you have Germany, Russia, Japan, America, and Great Britain for the nation presets. You don't have Sweden, you don't have any of the other minor nations, and it looks like the matchmaking is going to be historically premised. So no Germany and Japan in the Pacific fighting the Russians over the Battle of Saipan, maybe, hopefully. But as I've always kind of said, kind of in my previous kind of critiques of gaming, is in a lot of cases, sometimes less is more. Sometimes having a smaller selection of planes, having a more defined matchmaking setup, having more defined roles, it might actually be good. The other thing about this new game mode is it appears to be RRB light, but with 3 respawns, and you're still going to win by killing everyone on the enemy team. So it's RRB with respawns. It's not a horrible setup. It's a simple setup, and it actually will probably it has potential to work okay. It also has the potential of not being exactly what a lot of War Thunder Sim transplants are going to want, because a lot of War Thunder Sim transplants really, really do like the kind of persistent matchmaker, the persistent setup of enduring confrontation, and usually people that get into EC got into EC because of the more persistent, longer, kind of slower matches. And when you have a definitive number of spawns and a set amount of time and kind of a more casual game mode, things are going to snowball really quickly. Also, when you look at the roster of planes, there's some things that stand out. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. The other thing to note about this game is it's not just War Thunder Sim ported. It's kind of War Thunder Sim with the flight modeling part of it kind of watered down a little bit, where it appears that they have turned off the prop rotation effects and the wing stall effects, and basically it appears that the way the game works is basically playing RRB with markers off, no mouse aim, but playing in realistic joystick. So you can still hit that AOA limit, but your stall characteristics and a lot of kind of like the smaller finite details are going to be lost. Now, is that super duper important? Some people would argue yes. Some people are going to argue in favor of like a greater sense of immersion, which yeah, I get, but this game is kind of designed to work with a VR headset and a VR controller, so I can understand why not tuning the game around this idea that everyone's going to have like a hands-on stick and throttle setup is reasonable. Like I don't think that at the end of the day, whether or not you're good at the game or whether or not you're good at doing dogfighting things and understanding energy and doing all of the things that I actually find really interesting in War Thunder is really dependent on your ability to micromanage your trim and tune your airplane or manage your manual engine control settings. Now, I use mech these days, but really all of the kind of like little in the cockpit control things, to me, they don't really add or detract from what my core gameplay experience is, because my core gameplay experience is dogfighting, PvP, understanding energy, and kind of like everything that happens outside of the cockpit. I don't really have a strong opinion on the HUD up in the upper left-hand corner versus the gauges. Hopefully the gauges in Aces of Thunder are going to work now, because they have ported over War Thunder stuff, and in a lot of planes of War Thunder, some of the gauges don't give you actually accurate information. We'll see how that goes. Now, as far as the planes that are coming to Aces of Thunder, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about initially with this, and kind of give you guys some prep work and give you guys some kind of like day one, day zero understanding of how the game is going to work. Now, unfortunately, I'm doing this from memory, so I'm probably going to forget something, and I'll probably get tripped up a little bit, but we're going to kind of bear through this and kind of go from one side to the other. I'll just go through kind of the national trees and talk a little bit about how some of these planes are going to work against each other. And I'm going to start with Japan, because I think Japan is going to be kind of the wild card, going to be kind of the thing that people are going to have a very tough time playing against, because Japan has a really good fighter lineup in this game, and it's a fighter lineup that is going to be extremely intuitive to use. Where if you have no experience whatsoever, you go to the Japanese tree, you have three planes that are very, very strong, kind of in their own rights. There's one that stands out kind of like head and heels above everything else in theory, with the other two being kind of iconic and also ran. So the Japanese tree, at least from what I've seen, you're going to get the A6M2. It might be the 3, but I'm going to say the A6M2, one of the stronger zeros in the game for its BR, where it's relatively fast for what it's usually placed against. But it's a zero. It's going to fly like a zero. You're going to hold the stick in one direction. You're going to outturn everything. You're going to have a stall speed of 15.5 miles per hour. People are going to see the meatball and they're going to try to run away. The same thing goes for something like the Ki-61. The Ki-61, though, is kind of like a halfway in-between plane, where it's not quite J2M2 levels and of speed, and it's not quite zero levels of turn, where the Ki-61 on paper is kind of mediocre. It's kind of slow. Its sustained turn rate, kind of at the end of the day, once it bleeds its speed, is not that great, but its energy retention is really good. Its dive speed is really good. Its top speed is it's so-so. And what the Ki-61 does really good is, as long as it has speed, it can turn, and it can turn really well for a very long period of time, where even if you look at the turn rate on paper, that's really not going to be the gameplay experience that everyone's going to have. The Ki-61, once again, one of the strongest, easiest to use planes in War Thunder Sim, definitely going to be strong and easy to use in Aces of Thunder. And then we get kind of to the last one. And the last one, I think, is the doozy. And that's going to be the J2M2, the Raiden, the Raider, the little fat, little ugly plane with short stubby wings that is really going to just kind of like do everything well. The J2M2 is going to have probably the best climb rate overall in Aces of Thunder upon release. It will have probably the most competitive turn rate minus the zero, and it's going to have a reasonably good top speed. The J2M2 is an acceleration monster at low altitude, and its top speed is none too shabby. In fact, its top speed, I think, is in excess of the BF-109F4 and just barely slower than something like the Yak-3. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic that people are going to have to learn to play against, and I wait and see how people are going to react to the Japanese planes, because right now, from what I've seen from previous reviews, when Greg's playing the game, he's playing against the named bot system, where I don't think he's playing against a lot of players. And even training days, like, it's hard to tell. Like, a lot of times I look at the footage that they have of the game, and I notice that most of the times the planes that are fighting, they don't have wingtip vortices. And to me, that's a really big indicator that they're not fighting players. That's one of the kind of key aspects that I use to determine whether or not, like, a BF-109 that I'm facing is the AI versus a player, so that I either don't waste my time or figure out a way around it. Because the AI in the game is not perfect. It's okay, it works, but they never really max perform their plane the same way that players do. So it's going to be interesting to see as far as Japan goes. Moving on from Japan, Germany has basically two BF-109s, the FW-190, and then I think they get like a Stuka or something. I don't know what the last plane is, but their two 109s are the 109F4, which is the best 109 for the BR, for its power level, kind of the best overall 109. And then the G2 is kind of like the same thing, but worse. Like, it's basically just slightly worse, slightly better, depending on the altitude and depending on how much you overheat it, because the 109F4 is a little bit easier to overheat than the G2. The G2 is not bad, it's just not the 109F4. And then the last plane the Germans have is the FW-190A4. Once again, one of the stronger 190s relative to what it faces. However, the 190A4 in Aces of Thunder is going to be kind of like a niche slash support fighter slash it's going to be kind of ass, to be honest. Basically, from the looks of things, as far as kind of laying it out and what it's supposed to do, the 109's are really good at climbing, and they're a very decent jack-of-all-trades plane. The 109F4 and the G2 have acceptable turn rates. that are going to be a little bit better than the American stuff, almost on par with the better of the Russian stuff, and definitely inferior to the Japanese stuff. And they're also going to struggle a little bit with the British stuff, although with the British stuff, the Spitfire, you can run away from it. The Typhoon, you can kind of outroll it. You'll have some play and counterplay. Like overall, I think the German tech tree from the start will be a good tree to learn kind of the basic fundamentals of energy fighting, reading energy states, and kind of learning how to approach different fights from different perspectives, knowing that your plane's not necessarily the best in everything or the best in one thing, but you can usually figure out a way to make it work. Moving on from the Germans, we're going to get into the British. The British are coming with, I think, a Mark V Spitfire, which is a low-altitude Spitfire, and they're coming with a Typhoon and a Mosquito. The Mosquito, going to be terrible. Not going to be good. It's going to be a little bit fast, have good guns. There will definitely be a couple players that do enjoy it. Like, it will be one of those planes that I enjoy, but at the end of the day, climb rate, not very good. Turn rate, not very good. Top speed, even though it's fast, probably not fast enough to really matter. I think the Mosquito will have even troubles outrunning like something like a 190 A4, depending on the altitude. We'll see how it goes. Overall, Typhoon, probably the strongest for the British tree. Mark V Spitfire, depending on how they tune the Spitfire isms from War Thunder to Aces of Thunder, it might be good, might be bad. It's going to be kind of the same thing of like, oh, you see it's a Spitfire, yep, I'm going to run away. That's what you're going to probably have to do most of the time. Or you're going to have to look at your energy state and go, oh, it's a Spitfire that's already slow. I can go up, stall it out, pop over, drop down on top of it, and shoot it. It's going to be one of those things that we'll see how that goes. Overall, though, Typhoon 1B late, probably the strongest, probably one of the fastest planes in the game that I've seen so far, and definitely has the turn rate to compete with pretty much everything that's not Japanese. And if it comes with the Quad 20s, and the Quad 20s actually work really well, if they copied the gun damage from a couple patches ago, as opposed to 1.5 patches ago when they bugged up all the gun damage, it'll be really good. And anyways, moving on from that, we get into the Russian tree. Russia comes with, I want to say, a Yak 3 and an LA 5, and I want to say an I-185. I don't think the 185's in there yet. I think the 185 will come, but we'll just say LA5 and Yak 3. So the LA5 FN, very fast on the deck, kind of sort of maneuverable for the first couple of turns, but once it gets to low speed, that propeller efficiency drops off. So in the vertical, the LA5, after the first two turns, going to be rough. The Yak 3, on the other hand, is basically a better, more well-tuned BF-109F4, more or less just going to be straight up better at most of the relevant altitudes from 3,000 meters and down. Above 3,000, the engine still starts to die like a little bit. It'll be a little bit slower, but because the Yak 3 has so much performance that it can afford to lose performance, it's still going to be really god dang freaking good. And it's going to be one of the planes I think that a lot of people really struggle against, that are people going to hate it, because if they copy Shavak damage from the game to that game, it's going to just obliterate everything. And we're probably going to see things about Soviet bias within, I'm going to call it a month within release. I'm going to say that that's going to be within a month. That's my call. You can call me, check me, bet me. I'm going to say within a month, people will be really upsetty spaghetti about the Yak 3. Moving on from the Russians, I am forgetting something for the Russians. I know they get like an IL-2. They get one other plane. The other plane, I'm just going to say doesn't matter. We'll say it's a Yak 1 or a Yak 9. If it's a Yak 1, it turns better. If it's a Yak 9, it's a little bit faster than a Yak 3, depending on the variant. I don't know yet. I forgot. I forgot. That's why I'm doing this kind of off the cuff. Moving on from the Russians, though, we finally get to my favorite country, America. And America's kind of in an odd place, because in these games, America has been one of the most popular trees, but it's also been one of the ones that's kind of difficult to learn. It's not as intuitive, because you get behind a guy, and if you're new, you want to shoot him down. You want to put him in the gun sight. You want to kill him. You want to kill him now. And it's really easy in American planes to stick to a target for too long, where you're in a large plane, you end up slow, and another player in a more nimble plane, a plane that accelerates better, turns better, is going to have a much easier time coming and cleaning you up. Also, the American lineup is made up of the following planes: the P-47D-22, which is probably one of the weakest, worst P-47s in the game, minus some of the ones with the feather tip propellers. Is it going to be bad, like unusable bad? No, but people are going to struggle with this one. The P-47s, they take a lot of tender love and care to get them to work right, unless you stick to strictly high-speed attacks, and it takes a long, long time to build up that momentum, because the P-47, yeah, it's an energy fighter, but you got to think of it not really as a plane that builds energy or a plane that really even handles the energy it has very well. You have to think about that thing as like it's an NFL linebacker. Like, it takes a long time to get going. It's hard to stop once it does get going, and you have to be very selective in how you use it. Now, it comes with 850 cals. It's going to kind of obliterate everything too. It's a perfectly usable plane. It'll be fine. And the 47s do have a lot more agility, a lot more maneuverability than people give them credit for, especially with the flaps, the takeoffs, the landing flaps, even the combat flaps. If you use them effectively, you can catch people lacking. Like, a lot of times in the P-47, the one thing I do is I turn inside people, I watch them go up, they think they're going to stall me out, I have just enough speed that, yeah, they can stall me out, but they can't stall out my 50 cals, and my 50 cals blow them up. The next kind of plane that the Americans have is the P-51C, the Red Tails version. The 51C is going to be really good. It's probably going to be the best overall, most intuitive U.S. plane to use on release that's going to be part of the game. The 51C, very fast on the deck, very fast up high. Turn rate, turn performance, vertical performance at low speeds, kind of mid, actually. Like, once that wing isn't going fast at low speeds, it's not like a P-47 where it still kind of like pulls around. Like, the 51s, they get it slow and they kind of stop. So fighting against 51s in Japanese planes or German planes or whatnot, as long as you can get above them and get them slow, you kind of like dump your flaps, drop over on top of them, shoot them down. It's kind of like, it's kind of easy. At the same time, you get a 51 and he wants to stay fast the whole game. He wants to force the fight at high altitude. And something like a 109 and something that's a good bit slower, a lot of times you're just kind of sitting behind him going, dogfight me, you coward, dogfight me, you coward, and he just doesn't do it, and then you just have to complain about it. And if he comes back, and he comes back with an energy advantage, he turns well enough that for the time that he has the speed, and if he keeps the speed while going down, he can compete with you. So it means that the 51, although it doesn't turn good, you have just enough turn performance to force things like 109s into a technical fight. The plane that the 51 is going to really hard cancel, though, is going to be the 190A4. The 190A4 has to do its best, has to try really hard to beat a 51. Same thing for the 190 versus the D22. That's going to be about an even fight. The 190 should win that one. The 51 should win against the 190. Although with the landing flaps on the 190, you can do a lot of stuff. I've shown in depth how to really kind of force it. But that's another one. That's one of those flight models that, in order to use it effectively, you got to have some tender love and care with it, with the 190s. Then the same thing with the rest of the American stuff is kind of the same thing. You need to. It takes a little bit of getting used to. The Banana Bird is coming. The P-63. I want to say it's the C model. It might be the A model. They're both basically the same, minus one is tuned for slightly higher altitude, one is tuned for slightly lower altitude, and I think like one is like 35 pounds lighter because the pilot didn't pack his lunch for the day, kind of thing. Like those planes are basically identical. The 51s, or not the 51s, the 63s, they're fast, but they really, really love to wing stall with hard stick pressure. So it's really easy in the 63s to get greedy with them, pull a little bit too hard, wing stall it out. Also, the 63 has the same problem as the LA5, even more so than the LA5, where you go vertical in the 63, once you get below like 400 kph or so, the thrust on the prop just goes to nothing. Same thing with the wings. It kind of has like the 51 wing syndrome, where once it gets slow, it really doesn't want to move around at low speed. So getting vertical above a 63, getting them slow, is really an easy way to beat them. At the same time, the 63 is going to be in the same boat as the 51. It can easily run away from you in most planes. Things like the J2M2, though, are going to give the 63 a really, really hard time. And then kind of the last plane, and the last plane that I'm going to at least evaluate for this one, because I'm sure I probably forgot, like, oh, the French tree or something, a country that doesn't matter, is the F4U-4, because the F4U-4 is their first step in monetizing the game, or monetizing the future of the game, which appears to be they're going to add new planes to the game and then charge for them and hope people buy them. And the F4U-4 is going to be potentially meta-defining, but it won't be meta-defining for probably the first 3 months that the game is out, unless the population of the game is just purely made up of dedicated War Thunder sim players that just switch the game and then nobody else new comes in. The Corsairs have kind of better top speed than the 51, or this Corsair specifically has better top speed than the 51, better climb rate, better acceleration, although it might be about the same. Like, I think we're kind of splitting hairs for acceleration. The big thing with the Corsairs, though, is they're a carrier fighter. And being a carrier fighter, they have very low stall speeds with the landing flaps out. And with the Corsairs, if you can get the flaps out, you can outturn a lot of things that don't really expect it. And you can fight all the way down into low speeds in ways that the 51 and the 63 cannot. In ways that the 47 can, but the 47 doesn't have the power to weight ratio to keep it up. And even the 47 doesn't have as low a stall speed. So when it comes to overall flight performance, this kind of new plane that they're adding that will be basically a paid purchase will be the strongest American plane in the game, which it'll be strong, but in all honesty, we got at least 3 months of the game coming out and watching how things develop and seeing what they do. Anyways, that's going to be a Beer Thunder. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of brief synopsis of the future of Aces of Thunder as I predict it. Bye now.